Hey, so I thought I'd come back and talk a bit more about adrenal energy because I was talking about dark circles under the eyes and how that relates to depleted adrenal energy. And let's talk a little bit about things like apprehension, anxiety that drive us into an adrenal state. And in fact, if we are in overactive adrenal state, then we're going to feel anxious because that's the nature of that. So under stress, the adrenal glands start to pump out cortisol, and the function of that is to make us awake, alert, and ready for action. But we don't want to get stuck in that state for too long. We need to draw back from the stressor and relax and chill out. And that we find very difficult these days because we're kind of constantly bombarded with news that makes us reactive. So yeah, social media sometimes has a lot to answer for, but it's not just that. It's just we are fed fear and uncertainty and doubt continually, and that puts us into a stressed adrenal state as we respond to that. So I wanted to talk about a few remedies that we might use for apprehension, for things that are coming up ahead of us. And this is just homeopathic today, so sometimes I talk about flower essences as well. But this is a number one remedy that I've been talking about a lot this week because I've been doing some talks on pregnancy, and it's one of my favourite remedies for anxiety and fear in pregnancy. But really, it's a primal fear remedy for anybody who has that kind of rabbit in headlights, stuck state of can't move forward because they feel frightened. So I have clients who continually return to this state because their adrenal glands are pretty shot and we need to do something about supporting them. But aconite is a great remedy to reach for simple fear, anxiety, or if something's happened and you're feeling stuck in that fear state. Wonderful remedy. So we've got remedies like arginate, which is a great remedy for fear of flying, for fear of heights. It's a very specific one. So it might be that you've got some kind of trial or confrontation coming up. It's also a great remedy for white coat syndrome. I've just recommended it to a client who's got to go for a procedure. We might use a remedy like anacardium before going into an exam because that remedy is concerned that they'll forget everything that they know, so they're worried about their mind going blank. Gelsemium is a remedy which we often prescribe for flus. It's a fantastic remedy for flu with an achy back and feeling really weak and heavy and tired. But in fact, it's a really great remedy also for transition, for moving into the next phase. It's also a remedy for what we call diarrhea on going into battle. So for somebody who gets diarrhea before that confrontation, that would be a good remedy. Arginate, I mentioned, has the churning stomach with anxiety. This is a remedy that also can have a lot of digestive symptoms, actually. It's called lycopodium. And this is a remedy where somebody really doesn't like doing presentations. They might be very apprehensive about appearing for an audition, for a job interview, that type of situation. But actually on the day, they're absolutely okay. There's a lot of apprehension, a lot of worry beforehand, but they deliver well once they're up there. And it may be that once they're up there delivering, they're actually really not that conscious of what it is that they're saying, but everybody afterwards says, "That was great, you were amazing." That might well be lycopodium. Another remedy that I give quite a lot, because you know I work with menopause, but I really like this remedy and I'm using it increasingly for clients. It's called ambra grisea. And that is a remedy where you get easily embarrassed, where you might be in that kind of like staff meeting and you know that you're going to blush when it's your turn to speak. Ambra grisea is great for that. And then we talked about some baseline stuff. So we have these remedies called tissue salts that are low potency remedies. And one of my favorites around the nervous system is califos. So it could be that you are generally moving through a period of stress. A remedy like this that you take a couple of times a day could be really helpful. So that's a little bit more on homeopathy for the nervous system. homeopathy for apprehension, for worrying about things coming up, which creates tremendous stress on the adrenal glands. And if you are listening and you're going through menopause, your adrenal glands are going to be taking over the role of producing estrogen. And that's one of the main reasons why there is so much anxiety and stress at menopause, because that transition is happening and we are now up against so many other environmental factors that we have to deal with in terms of stress. So even something like your Wi-Fi creates stress for the system that your system has to manage. So the more we pile on those tasks for the adrenal glands, the less capable they are of producing the estrogen that we need. We don't need as much estrogen post-menopause, but we do need some. So supporting ourselves through times of stress, and I'll talk more about this, is really fundamental. So speak to you soon.